Welcome to Meaningful by Design, where we dive into the heart of what makes businesses, brands, and leaders truly matter. In each episode, we speak with founders and entrepreneurs who are shaping the world with their uncompromising vision and values, both in B2B and B2C. It's not just about what they're building, but why they're building it and how they do it, with consistency, authenticity, and purpose. Today, we're speaking with Michael Darchambeau, one of the co-founders of Urbantz. Urbantz is a global SaaS platform launched out of Brussels that helps large retailers and logistics providers manage last-mile deliveries. With a digital product that's focusing on the best user experience, Urbantz improves efficiency for top brands across the world, ranging from Europe all the way to the Middle East. We're very much looking forward to this episode today, and we're starting that right now. So thank you for joining us, Mike. Really appreciate your time. We have today an interesting discussion ahead of us, and maybe I'll give the word to you first, because every journey has a beginning. And I'm very curious to hear a bit more about you, why you started Urbantz, and what sparked that fire for you.
Yeah. So Urbantz, we started 10 years ago. But I think it's maybe interesting to see what happened before Urbantz. Is that when I was 28 years old, I was living in Paris, and with my roommate, I was really inspired about entrepreneurship. And it was in a time where you are just in between jobs, where you say, I should do consulting, and then after 2 years in consulting, you realize you just want to go for maybe you should go for MBA. So I have applied to a Rotary scholarship that I get to make an MBA in the US. So I was applying to HBS, Wharton, Kellogg, and all the big schools. And during the interview process, you are always meeting some guys who tell you, okay, what do you want to do after the MBA? And I was always telling, okay, I want to do create my company, becoming an entrepreneur. And one of my roommate was already partner with some of the guy that has done the MBA. And then he challenged myself and he said, Mike, maybe what we should do and you should do, it's put the money you put in the MBA, but put it in a venture right now, and we can create the company together. So I will share my knowledge because I've done the MBA. And you will create your company right away, and you will do an MBA in life. So I said, okay, but what's the project we could do together? And then one of them explained to me a story from the day before, that it was in Saint-Germain in Paris, where you have Café Fleur, really nice place where you have a chat, you have beers. And then he saw a cargo bike on Boulevard Saint-Germain with the branding FedEx delivering packages. And then he had like illumination. He say, okay, but I think we should do the same business and go to see TNT and propose the business on the other side of Paris. So you have a left wing and a right wing, and it was starting right wing. Then he came back at night and he said, okay, Mike, I think I have the idea for the project. We will build an ecological last mile delivery network in Paris, and then after with customers like TNT, FedEx, that are international customers, we will do a rollout in all European cities, and will become the largest ecological last mile delivery network in Europe. And I say, okay, yeah, that's cool, really, really ambitious. Looks really fun, but I don't know anything about logistics. So we decided to go to look on the internet. And then we found a partner in Lyon. It was already a delivery company doing using bicycle to do deliveries. And then we contacted them, and they had few cargo bike, in their operations. And then we were like doing the partnership with them. We give them some shares, and we have opened Paris, and the name was the Green Link. And in Paris, we have set up one hub in the city center. So I was looking, as an entrepreneur, you have to find a place, to find a hub. So it was not so easy as well to find 400 square meters in central Paris. And then we've been to see the customer, discussing the project, was TNT, the operations of TNT. And they're always asking the same question: do you already have the bike? Do you already have the warehouse? And we said, not yet, but it's in progress, and so on. And at the end, we have built, this company. I was operating the company as a CEO for 5 years, and as a super driver, because at the end you are CEO, but in a logistics company you spend more time on the bicycle than behind your computer, because you always have some challenge and nightmares and issues to solve. You always have lack of resource. People don't come. People call you, I'm stuck in a lift. People call you, someone has stolen my cargo bike. We sold the parcels inside. It was always difficulties to manage.
Yeah, logistical world can be a nightmare, eh?
Yeah, exactly. That was, 80% of your time you're spending on 20% of the problems. And that was really really interesting, as an experience. And then 2013, because I was really doing the biking almost every day, because you always need someone. Then I've seen, because when you do, you still think, okay, how long it will last? I could not do that for 10 years, and what's the next step, and so on. So first of all, next step was not at all the rollout in all European cities, because you cannot find people like you jumping on the bike and doing the resort. So at the end, I was really stuck into Paris with 100 drivers, really hardcore operations. And 2013, I've met the CEO of Deliveroo, William Shaw. So the guy was building Deliveroo in London, and we've met. And I realized that I had more advanced than him in Paris, because I had already my fleet. He was launching, in London. They wanted to do the rollout. And I realized at this time that technology will play an important role in logistics, and that I should go and do pivot to a logistic company using technology, But again, this transition, it's really difficult, because when you are operating the business on daily basis, you have so many things to do, and your core business is delivering packages. And when you want to become a tech company, first of all, I don't have the knowledge to be I'm not a developer. So I try to find the great partners. So I first bought solutions that didn't work at all. So I spent money for a year. The guy was developing things like you see it works, and they show you it's really slow. Well, the horrible relationship, you can have with a supplier. And then I went to China. I've met Lalamove, who was one of the top logistic company in China. After 8 months, they built a network of 15,000 drivers in 5 Chinese cities. And the company was really fun, because it was built by a poker player. And, like the crazy guy, you go there and you just realize that they are all like, two founders are 15 years old. The CEO is a poker player, and then they have a CEO in the between, which is an American guy, quite smart, trying to managing the expectations. And finally, too difficult to bring Chinese technology into Europe, because the expectations in Europe are higher than what they do in China. And then I've, with my network, trying to talk and to explain what I wanted to do, and I've met my actual co-founder, so Jonathan and Melanie, and they were in a stage where they were thinking about building a logistic company as well, peer-to-peer. And I pitched them my idea to do round optimization, to do solutions for last mile, arrows, things like that. And we started Urbantz.
Wow, that's a very interesting story. And what strikes me is that initial drive of creating this ecological way of doing deliveries and having that impact really stayed, even though you pivoted, obviously, and you went from really hardcore logistics delivering to then that tech software. So maybe that leads me to the next question. Why do you do what you do? And I'm not talking about money or the product itself, but what is that driver underneath?
Yeah. I think at this time, I think I had no choice about in my life. No other choice. It's really strange, the feeling where before even starting the green link, it was like if it was my only option. And it's a really strange situation, because people will tell you, oh, look, you are a business engineer, you should have a lot of opportunities, you can apply to any companies, you can and then myself, I was like living in Paris, and I had no option. So it's like if you have to do something, and then you just commit, and you just know something is that you want the freedom, you want make a project that you really believe, you want to be the starter of something. I think that's something really strong. And you want your company, you want to invoice, you want to have your management company, you want to travel, this kind of freedom to to make things happen. And what I really love in what I do is that I like to imagine something, I like to draw it, and then I like to execute it. And I think this is what animates me here, is that all the projects I've done, I've always be a kind of imagination first, and to a kind of feeling about what the world needs, and the potential of an idea. Because at the end, when you look at launching, I mean, now it's almost 15 years ago, ecological last mile delivery company. It was much before Uber. It was much before Deliveroo. So at the end, it was like a visionary idea to launch something that, okay, could have a potential. I should have maybe stayed longer in that operations, because I could have done something much bigger. When you have seen what happened with the quick commerce, when you have seen what happened with the scooter company, I was just not in the right setup in terms of VCs, investors, and so on. But the idea was good, and the execution was quite okay. It was done as a human, not as a VC fuel company.
Yeah, exactly. So what you say there really resonates with me, and I think with all of us, is that ability to create, right? To have something in mind, and then do the act of creation, making something out of nothing, and just willing it to life through just hard work and perseverance.
Yeah, what's crucial in what you said is you imagine a solution, but you also want to act on it and execute the solution, because that's what entrepreneurial mindset is all about. It's not just having an idea and saying, okay, someone should develop it. It's seeing a potential and saying, okay, I'm the one that's going to go after it and develop the solution, even though.
And I think what you say, it's as well not specially a copy paste of something, because at some point you could say, okay, today I want to do real estate. Okay, but if you start to talk about real estate to expert in real estate, they will convince not to start, because they feel that they are expert. But the way you want to do it may be a different way they are doing it. And I think that if you think too much and you talk too much about your project before make it happen, you kill the idea and you lose the motivation. So I'm really a strong believer that if you want to start something, the best is just to have two partners or co-founders, or having few support and directly go on the market. And the market will learn you how to adapt and launch a new project much better than your peer and your competitor at the end.
I think what you've just touched upon is something very interesting we hope to find in every founder we work with, is that unique point of view. We are always searching the uniqueness, and we define that when working with companies, what's your big idea? What's the thing you're doing that is different from the competition? You could be just a copycat of another solution, but that's not bringing your own perspective to the market and into the world either. And so that's very interesting in how you frame that. Do you have examples on how you saw that when you started your own company, saying, okay, this is how we do it, that is unique?
Yes, I think that the uniqueness, what was quite fun, is that I've never done a so big competitive analysis before starting. So I was starting the idea from the problem, in fact, that I was personally living at this time. There was like the lack of transparency, the difficulty, the cost of hiring people, the quality of service, and I was just trying to put in front some solutions that could solve it. And I think that this is what make us quite unique, because we come on the market with a solution that was dedicated to last mile operators, so more logistic company. And by doing so, we realize that we have pitched the solution to company like Carrefour or Auchan, like really large supermarket brand, and they saw in the solutions a way to move and to change their business model. And they became themselves a kind of logistic company as well, by organizing the planning themselves, by assigning routes to external carriers, to drivers, and they were acting like a logistic companies for their own goods, in fact. And this was quite unique, because normally the companies that are in our field, they have not started this way. They have more started with one part of the solution, saying, okay, I will offer just a route optimizer. And then after, the customer asks mobile application. So we'll do mobile application, then we'll do customer experience. And ourselves, we have directly create kind of platform that integrate the whole solutions and the whole modules.
So in what I hear you say now, and how you speak about the solutions and the clarity with which you look at what the solution needs to look like, it seems to me that along the way in that 15-year journey, you learn to stop compromising and to just make these decisions based on what you know is right. And what I always find interesting is, when in that journey did you understand that you couldn't compromise anymore, that you had to stop that, and what was the consequence?
So if I understand well the question, you are asking at which point we decided to really make it happen and to launch Urbantz, in fact.
Yeah, to launch Urbantz, but even more than that, I would say in the developing in that early years, what we've seen founders do in the beginning is try to be a bit of everything and try to make compromises in what they do.
So I think that's a really good question, because at the beginning of Urbantz, the fact my DNA was like an operator, I wanted to integrate the tech into the operations. So my goal was to become the Uber for logistics, but for last mile deliveries, and it has to be ecological. So my vision was to create this kind of last mile delivery network where you could have everyone doing the deliveries and connecting the different houses, cars, and all the flows, in fact, in cities. But the problem with that is that you still work with the B2C and B2B. Well, yeah, I mean, you act as a marketplace, so you don't have really. It's always the supply and the demand, so it's quite hard to build a marketplace. And as well, you need to deal with the regulation, social regulations that was quite sketchy at this time. So the idea was to say, instead of offering and developing a marketplace, because my partner were not from the logistics, so they didn't understand well the operations. However, they were understanding really well building a product. So at this time, we decided to go from a logistic company to a SaaS company, and to sell, to become a product company with a product revenue, which is simpler to calculate. You do license, you sell the product, and then after you don't touch the operations. Even once we started to launch, some customers ask us, "Hey, but how do we pay the carriers?" And I was saying, no, you will pay them yourself. We just provide the solution. And the customers always were asking many different things to customize the solution. So you say yes at the beginning, like for example, our first customer was City Depot. You remember? And they came up with a list of requirements, and we were not covering 30% at the beginning. So we started to develop accordingly to the requirements. And then at one time, when you start to work with really large corporation, you start to do the development. You say, okay, we have a roadmap. The feature you want to develop will be released in 18 months. However, you can participate to the roadmaps by bringing insights, bringing ideas, but we are doing the finance decisions to do.
Yeah. From what you've said, I have the feeling that you have for your client, you have to be more than a feature factory. You have to stand for something bigger. What is it beside that flexibility and that feedback loop you have with your client where you can roadmap a need and fix it? What is it that you stand for? I mean, as a company, the vision you have for the world. Because I've heard you mentioned the ecological side of delivery, which feels important for you. But what role does it play in how you have you run your business and connect with your clients?
Well, I think that you're right. You need to offer to the customers what they ask for. Unfortunately, ecology is not a top priority in their operations. It's more linked to the regulations that they could cope with, that may have an impact on the cost of the operations. Because, an example, they could say, CO2 emissions, you will be taxed by X%, or you cannot enter this area of the city, so you have to invest in EVs. So that's a new investment. So they look at, I think, ecology more like an investment and a constraint. And we have never been able to sell our vision about sustainability. It's not something that they were buying. I think what they were buying was the UX, UI, the interface, the flexibility, the simplicity, seamless experience, and at the end, yeah, the cost. So I think that yeah.
And your UX is better from your experience as a package carrier yourself. You believe that bringing this experience into the product is something that led to.
Yeah, we have one of the best UX on the market for so far. It was not difficult at the beginning. I mean, when you look the screen of a carrier, it like awful. It's even Excel, we are replacing. So that's not so hard.
Yeah. So me, myself, in the previous life, I actually had interactions with Urbantz, and I was actually a client at some points in previous jobs. But one thing that struck me back then, and I think it's very much still true today, is that a differentiator for Urbantz is also within the culture. It's in the heart of the company, and I spoke and I worked with a lot of people within that, and I always loved the way they interacted, the care they put into it. So I have a question maybe about the culture, and that is that, what do you, as a founder, protect the most in your culture? What is the thing that you really can't afford to lose today?
So what we cannot lose today is the collaboration aspect in our culture, because especially as we are 100% remote company. So as a 100% remote company, you need a really strong again collaboration between team, and not especially for work, but to keep people motivated. And I think that you always need to be able to that everyone is happy in the company. But because it's not so easy, once you're alone in your place, you could lose the why I'm working for that company. And I think the fact to be collaborative and help us to build internal project and create this small cluster where you create some nucleo where people feel good, So collaboration, it's really important for us.
Is this a topic that you as a leader often discuss with your middle management and making sure that they all protect that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really have strong values in the company. Second one, it's about buckle up for change, because things never go as planned. So as an example, you want to do a fundraising, and then you do the mistake to communicate it to the company. Then everybody is happy, motivated, they say, cool, we can hire more resource, we can build new features. And at the end, it does not happen, So I think that it's because the market condition have changed, but it creates a bad feeling, like a cold shower in the company. So this kind of aspect, it's important to monitor and to consider once you join a startup, because startup and scale up, it's hard. And this is what we try to make them understand sometimes, that okay, things are changing always. As an example, this summer, we realized that the pipeline was not as big as we thought. We were in troubles, for some deals that would have been delayed and so on. And so I decided to take the project with my VP sales, and we started to work without process. We started to really outreach ourselves to delete some deals with low probability. We started to hire people without following the HR process. So we were like sending messages to the HR team by telling, okay, please open access to this and this for that person. And the feedback we had was really, really bad. Okay, as a founder, you ask me some things, but me, I have a lot of things to do. And they don't, like the fact that the process become no process. And if as a founder, that's a little bit the feedback we get from the team, is that we need to be really careful to not going too much into the operations, because we have a way to do things. This founder mentality where you say, okay, it doesn't go as I want to. Let's do that way. Now everybody's working this way, and I want a meeting tomorrow. And people don't like when we start to speak like that. But when you feel the urgency, at the end, every day counts. The cash at the end of the month, you need to pay the bill, you need to pay the salary. It's a lot of pressure. And if you don't feel this pressure yourself, I think the team, it's too relaxed, and the company cannot work. And I think Sydney is understanding that from a CEO perspective. It's the management of people. It's, I think, the more difficult thing, because you like people, you like everybody is happy, good atmosphere, but at the end there is a reality, and if a sales does not have enough pipeline, will not convert, it has an impact on the whole company, and that's really hard, to deal with. And I'm really hard on that aspect in the company. It's monitoring the balance between prospection and closing, and then onboarding. And I think the prospection, it's really important to never stop doing prospection, because too many sales sometimes believe, I have 2-3 good deals that could happen. If I sign them, I have done my quota for the year. And like a bigger majority, that it does not happen. So after the pipeline is dry, and they need to launch a prospection. And when you need to start to prospect again, it's like if you have run a marathon, and then you don't run for 2 years, you cannot after run for 5K, so.
Yeah, I think we recognize this.
I definitely can relate to what you said, Mike, in terms of context and how framing problematics to the teams. And it's bring me to the next question. What's the one moment when your values were tested and you chose to stand your ground?
Yeah. Let me think. It's difficult because you have of course that it requires some reflection on that question. But I see if one of them it's about buckle up for change. I would say it's this summer. The story I am explaining, where unfortunately we have a transition from one VP sales to another one. Then we realized that the work has not been done as expected. And then everybody is like, oh, everything look fine, the message was great. And then after we came up with the wake-up call in July, we were only 2 that were not on holidays. We could not take holidays because of that. And then we decided to cancel our holidays and to work on this pipeline creation. And me as a founder, I was like working with the team and saying, okay, but maybe you have planned good things this summer, but sorry, but no priority, it's our company. So cancel what you have forecasted. So buckle up for change, that's the situation.
So the buckle up for change is really a principle that I love, and that I love how it's phrased. So it's an eternal discussion we have with our clients as well, of like, what do values in action need to sound like and look like? And we always are quite strong on the fact that there needs to be a verb in there. We need to do something, and it needs to inspire behavior. And I think buckle up for change, the way you phrase that and how it's lived, I think it does the job very, very well.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe, yeah, go ahead.
You generally, you are working on the value, on the mission, on the vision of the company with the company, right?
Absolutely. So when obviously we're a rebranding firm, and while most companies would think of rebranding at like the visual aspect of it, it is a part of it, but it's definitely not the part that will magically help you sell more. It's not something that will have a real business impact, and we're all about that. It's business impact. And so helping sets of founders to articulate that core idea that we're selling and why we're doing what we're doing, creating that sense of belonging in a company, and giving the tools to leadership to actually drive behavior is crucial. And so the principles that come out of there need to be strong and anchored in reality, and also actually lived, because you can have an ideal world of like, I hope these values work, but there's also a reality. You've been a company for more than 10 years now. There's people who've been there for a long time. You went through a lot of things. So what's real for this group of people? What is legitimate? That is really our goal to figure out and be able to translate it in such a way that you get the results that you want. And through times of adversity, like you just mentioned in that summer, well, you actually get the behavior that you hope for. And buckle up for change, I mean, it really resonates with me.
But to give you a little bit more example or context, we are not against values per se, but values are like ideals. It's a one word, like transparency, excellence, but that doesn't drive behavior. That's not something that is actionable for a leadership leadership level, or even a company to act upon it. And so we turn those values into principle. Recently, we've been working with a company which had something along the line of excellence, and we discuss with people. We learn how they speak. We learn what makes them move, what makes them act, and from that we have rewritten the excellence value as give a shit, because this was their lingo. This was their way to say, okay, actually, it's not just be excellent, it's care for the details. And so give a shit was a saying they had internally. And so it has a verb, and it is actionable. It drives behavior. So much so that you can be held accountable if you are not behaving according to the principle. So for you, for example, you could look at someone and saying, hey, you're not buckling up for change here. How comes? And then have a discussion about company fit, etc. So that's what's interesting in turning values into principle, and buckle up for change is truly one that is very well done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And so maybe you just proved that like one of your values really reflects who you are as a company. And maybe to flip that question around, what part of your company today does not reflect what you truly are? Do you have something in the company that you say, well, actually, we've got a lot of things right, we're doing well, but something is not fitting it?
Yeah, this is my personal point of view.
Sure.
That could not be shared with the others, because, of course, we decide the values commonly.
Together, yeah.
But for me, I am a business developer. I am a sales as in my DNA. And what I really believe is that Urbantz, it's a too much tech company. So it's not enough salesy. It's not enough based on the branding, on the images, on the way to promote ourselves, on the brand awareness. And that's something that I noticed from the logo, from the presentation video, from the commercial presentation, as I said, the event we are participating, the pitch that are done from the sales. And I would have loved to have a bigger sales team, as an example, more aggressive on the market, more, So definitely it is linked about the fact that my two co-founders are more tech-oriented and operations. And again, it's not a critique, it's just to say that I am more sales, and that's one thing. The counterpart of that my co-founder believe, and I think they are quite right on that, is that the market we are addressing, it's a logistic market, it's a old school market, and it's not especially necessary to be fun, to be too salesy, because at the end they buy a product, they don't buy the brand. And maybe in my next adventure I will do something more in the middle, where I could promote better brand, and after having some buying of the product. But I still believe that when I'm pitching to really C-level, yesterday I was with the CEO of DPD Germany, DPD Switzerland on a call. The day before I was with the CEO of Seva Logistics, CMS CGM, so really big, large company. And at the end, we talked about strategy, and themselves, when they launch projects, they like to communicate on the project. They like to communicate on the partnership. So if you have a good branding, and if you have everywhere in all the fairs and in the press, and people talk about you, it is more interesting as well for them, because they like as well to promote themselves as, okay, they do partnership with great company, sexy company.
But I think just to bounce off of what you're saying, I think it's the case for a lot of companies that are either run by logistical people. They really aren't aware of what a brand and being a brand can do. Same goes for engineers company or IT companies that are launched by people that are very deep in their expertise. And so it's often overlooked. Branding is often overlooked. Yeah. And what we always say, because I think your feeling is right, from our point of view, so we are not trying to sell our soup, but still it's the fact that we've seen it work B2B, as you mentioned, discussing with DHL or big companies. You're still dealing with humans, and human response to story, and you have to bring them with you. If you're just saying, hey, look, I've got a product, these are the features, and it works, they're like, okay, what's your cheapest price? Because you're becoming a commodity for those people, and that's and that's the trap of not behaving like a brand, is that you're competing at a commodity level, and your only levers are prices and.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also your defense against competition arising and shamelessly copying your product. Today with AI, it's going to be much faster to copy a SaaS than it was ever before. And so how do you protect yourself against that? Yeah, very interesting. So maybe I have another question about the dynamics, because you also are multiple co-founders with different profiles, which is something we recognize. I think Yael is more of the technical branding side, really understanding the power of language, the power of visual identity. Me, myself, I think I recognize myself in you, Mike. I am also the biz dev guy. I'm the sales guy. I breed that, and I try to push that all the time. While CEO has a way more, Sydney is the people guy. He's the one who really federates the team around that common vision and is able to articulate our strategy in such a clear way for a wide array of profiles. So how did that benefit you guys to have this diverse team with different points of views, and how is that shaping your future as well?
Yeah, but that's really interesting, because imagine if you have a CEO who is a commercial, he will always come back with the team and asking to develop for the customer. And the tech, Jonathan was more saying, okay, no, we need to be careful about not developing a product that has 5 legs, So the fact that we have different profile, help us to keep the focus
Balance.
we want to have. And the same with Melanie, as she's operating, she's implementing, she's in charge of the operations, now the CEO. It's great because she likes the detail, you know, and we always say that as a funny story in the company is that I am opening the doors and Melanie is managing the details, you know. So that's how things happen many times.
That's great. Very interesting to hear and very relatable as well. So we're going to be mindful of your time because we know you're very busy. Maybe one more question we do have before you leave. Is there a question that you wish people would ask you more often, but they never do?
You mean customer or you mean
customers or investors or just other entrepreneurs? Something that you feel like is important to share, but no one ever asks you that question.
Yeah. I think one question that I like to hear it's how can you help us in our project as an advisor? How you know? I think that at some point you want to share your expertise and you want to to share what you have learned. And I think that people first of all either they ask just and that's fine, but they don't like to formalize too much the things. And I think that a question I like to hear is that, okay, you have a good experience in that field as an entrepreneur and so on. Okay, we are building company. Would you like to become advisor? You know, we are being an advisor,
Yeah.
or as well, or we have a problematic about building the pipeline. Would you like to? Could you give us some advice on how to increase? You know, I think that entrepreneurship journey has different stage. One stage you like to build, you want to execute, and then at some point you want to share because by doing less you can have more impact.
Well, that's very interesting that you say that because that's the exact reason why we started this company, why we started this podcast, is to be able to learn so much more from entrepreneurs across industries because we are industry agnostic, really at different stages in life, like you said, different stages in a startup or a scale up or a grown up maturity, and really capturing those learnings is exactly why we do what we do. So thank you very much for today. I learned a lot and it was really interesting for me to hear that.
What is the next podcast that you will record?
We have the next podcast will be with the founder and CEO of one of the biggest recruiting firms that started out of Belgium, but is today present in Dubai, Montreal, Paris, Casablanca, really worldwide. So totally different industry, different type of things, and we try to keep it as broad a spectrum as possible to learn and understand how that goes.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, so thank you very much for today. We'll end this here. And if you want to learn more about Urbantz, make sure to go and check out their website. They're doing amazing stuff. They're growing fast. And if you are in logistics, that I have actually some first-hand experience, and it's a great tool and a great software. Un grand merci, Michael, pour tout. Oui, on se voit bientôt. J'enverrai un petit mail. Bye bye.
À la prochaine.
Ciao,
Salut à tous.
Ciao.